It has been busy, but it's Sunday and the kids are watching a cartoon and the baby's napping, so it's bread time. Today's recipe for my old-fashioned bread cookbook is apple yeast bread, and I'm excited. It's going to use up a lot of stuff I have in my pantry, and I didn't have to buy anything special to make it. So first you need to dissolve 2 packets of yeast in a half a cup of water, and then set it aside and let it flour for about 10 minutes. In a mixing bowl, you're going to add in 1 tablespoon of salt, 1/3 cup of shortening that's been softened, and then add 2 tablespoons of honey to that, and you can see how crystallized my honey has gotten. Then you need to add in 1 2/3 cups of hot water. I just put a little bit on the stove and heated it up that way. I didn't get it boiling, but you can see it was starting to get some bubbles on the bottom, so it was pretty hot. You can see the steam too. And then you are going to just mix that together really well until the shortening is all dissolved. Add in 1 cup of applesauce and 2/3 cup of powdered milk. So I was excited to get to use up some powdered milk in this recipe and know that this is how it was intended to be used. By now, your yeast should be very frothy and ready to add to this mixture. Now it needs a total of 7 to 8 cups of flour. So I'm just gonna start adding it in and mixing and adding and mixing and see how it goes. And this is with 6 cups of flour so far. Also, my house isn't on fire. I have a diffuser going on next to me. Looks like the 7th cup overflowed my thing. So I'm gonna take it out and try to mix this together. I just lowered my thing down to the bottom so it kind of just gets the top. I'm hoping that at first it kind of can help the flour settle down. Okay, I've got this last cup. I'm just gonna do half of it first and then kind of stir this around. So that wasn't working. It was too much dough for my KitchenAid, so I dumped it out and I'm gonna knead it by hand just enough so that it can incorporate all of that flour into it, and then I'm gonna put it back in my mixer. This looks a lot better. I didn't add any more flour to it than what I had before, but it was a lot less sticky because I took it out and dumped it out and like incorporated it, well, kneaded it a little bit better than my bowl was able to do, because my bowl's not quite big enough to handle this much dough. So now we're going to dump this in this greased bowl and let it rise until it's double in size. Seriously, this is huge. This is a big bowl. That's a lot of dough. It doubled in size, and now it's time to punch it on down. So now I'm gonna cover it and leave it alone and let it double in size again, and we're gonna go on a family mental health walk for today. Even in the rain, walks are necessary for my kids' happiness. We are gonna punch it down again after this rise. We're gonna form them into loaves, put them in the pans, and let them rise again for another 30 minutes. And then bake at 400 degrees for 40 to 45 minutes. Well, I started at nap time and now it's dinner time, but these are done and they are just cooling down on the counter while we eat. I don't know if we'll be able to eat any of this tonight. All right, it's the next day. I made the bread kind of, well, by the time it was done cooling down, it was a little too late to eat. It was like we were getting ready for bed. So I saved it to today, cut it up, ate it. It was so good. I was so surprised. It had like the smallest hint of apple flavor, like the tiniest little bit, and only because I was looking at it. My kids didn't notice it. They loved the bread. It was so good. Right, bud? But that bread is so like perfectly dense for sandwiches. Like if I cut it too thin, I'm telling them it's good for sandwiches. If I cut it too thin, it was a little, not crumbly, but it, it was soft, so it fell apart. But if I cut it like a decent like thickness, Man, it was good. And not even like super thick, probably the same as like a loaf of store bread. I tend to cut my bread a little thinner. But yeah, I do cut it thinner. But it was delicious. Definitely a top contender for my favorite so far. Well, it's a stormy day. There's no good lighting and my baby needs me. So thanks again for watching this video. Make sure you like it and subscribe if you would like to get more. Yeah, subscribe if you would like to get more bread content, because I still got a ways to go to get through this book. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video.